All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Wherever you are, you might be in other parts of the world. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the Monash Master of TESOL course information session. My name is Jennifer. I'm a course advisor at the Faculty of Education, Monash University. For those of you who haven't heard of TESOL, it stands for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the lands on which we speak today and recognize that sovereignty was never ceded. I would like to specifically acknowledge that the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung people, communities of the Kulin Nation, are the ongoing custodians of the lands on which Monash University now stands. We pay our respects through our research, teaching, and learning to the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung elders and their past, present, and future communities. In this Master of TESOL webinar, you will hear from our course leader, Dr. Ruth Fielding, who will give you an overview of the course structure as well as career outcomes. You will also hear from our alumni, Andy Nova, who started his own EdTech company and has taught English at several universities. You will also get to hear from me about the entry requirements as well as the application process. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A function to type your questions. And my fellow course advisor, Patrick, who is working tirelessly in the background, he will either respond to you in writing or he will read out your questions for us to answer live after the presentation. First off, if you're actually looking to become a registered teacher in the school or in an early childhood education setting here in Australia, please refer to our Master of Teaching course instead. So the Master of Teaching course qualifies graduates to become a teacher, whereas the Master of TESOL that we're discussing today does actually not lead to teacher registration in Australia. So you're welcome to join our Master of Teaching webinar in May to find out more about how to become a qualified teacher in Australia. To register, simply visit monash.edu/education/events and you'll find the event listing. Now back to the Master of TESOL. So why choose Monash to study Master of TESOL? Firstly, we are ranked really high in Australia and in the world. You can see we're highly regarded in the field of education. We're ranked #1 in Australia according to Times Higher Education subject rankings and number 13 in the world by QS subject rankings. Both are really prestigious ranking systems and they both acknowledge the quality of our teaching and research. So when you study with Monash, you will graduate with a world-class qualification. Second, you will have an amazing experience studying with us with a lot of support from the university. You'll be based in the Learning and Teaching building, pictures you can see on the screen, which this building is located in our Clayton campus, which is the largest campus of Monash.
Hey, over here!
And my slides today, I think they're just transitioning automatically. So apologies if you see the next slide before I finish the previous one. We'll fix that next time. But here is a short video of what it's like to study on Clayton campus.
Hey, over here! Hi, I'm Naomi. This is the Learning and Teaching building at Monash. Let me take you for a bit of a tour. So what's so amazing about this building? There's a study space for every scenario. Whether you're studying with a big group of friends, a small group of friends, or by yourself, there's always a perfect space for you. They have whiteboards as tables, so you can just write and jot down ideas as you go. And there's like a bajillion screens around, so if you're a bit short-sighted like me, you can see a screen right next to you. I clearly have not taken dancing lessons at Monash. This study space is my favorite. It's for education students only, and it's got this awesome little kitchenette where I can make my noodles. Hey, those are my noodles. What I truly love is there are just tons of people who support me. Fellow students who are in it with me, those amazing lecturers who drop those knowledge bombs, awesome staff who help me specifically while I'm on placement, and the coolest people in the world, the education success advisors, who have helped me and supported me throughout my whole education journey. Hey! When you come and study here at Monash, make sure to come by and say hi.
Yes, I believe Andy would have studied in the learning and teaching building as well. Yes, great. I can see Andy nodding. Great. Yeah. So now I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Ruth Fielding, who is the course leader of the Master of TESOL, to give an overview of this course. Over to you, Ruth.
Thanks, Jennifer. So yes, I'm Ruth Fielding. I'm currently the course leader for the Master of TESOL. And yeah, we hope we would be able to welcome you into our course. So the course, as Jennifer outlined, is not an initial teacher education course, but it may suit you if either you're already a qualified teacher and you want to add TESOL to your expertise, or if you're planning to teach adults English, or you're planning to teach in another country, to teach English as a foreign language in another country, then the Master of TESOL will suit you. It is in general a 2-year course, although you can talk with the admissions team around prior learning. There is recognition for prior learning if you've done some relevant previous study. That may then shorten the length of the course. But throughout the course, I guess the things that we're really proud of in terms of the structure are that we have a new structure as of 2020 and 2021. We've rolled out our latest version of the Master of TESOL, and throughout the whole course, we really feel like it's quite cutting edge. We are embedding a lot of multilingual principles within the Master of TESOL. So what that basically means is that we will talk to you about the detail when you join the course. But it basically means, we no longer, in the teaching of English, ignore people's linguistic skill in all of their other languages. And historically, that's maybe not been something that's been done brilliantly. But we now kind of see how learners learning languages learn them better when we build on and acknowledge their existing skill in their existing languages. So all of the course kind of talks about how language works, how as a teacher you can help your students to learn to the best of their abilities to learn English, but not to ignore their existing languages, to use those as a scaffold and a stepping stone towards being brilliant speakers and users of English. So the course structure, if we go to the next slide, we've got it set up here for those of you who would be starting with a semester 2 start. The subjects would be the same regardless if you didn't join us till semester 1 next year, but they go in this particular order. So you start out with 2 more general subjects which introduce you to how to engage with the readings and the research in education that will then equip you to undertake the more specific TESOL subjects in the second semester. But in those 2 subjects, you've got quite a lot of choice in terms of what you base your assignments around. So you can still focus on the teaching of English as your topics of interest in those first 2 subjects. But you'll really be equipped in those first 2 subjects to then do the best that you can throughout the rest of the course, and you'll learn the sort of the reading and critiquing skills that you'll need to undertake the rest of the course. We then have our 8 core units, which you can see listed under year 2 there in the sort of the middle of the table there, and they kind of go together in a couple of different pairs. So we have them sort of grouped together in particular pairs, but the whole of the course has been constructed by our TESOL academic team so that all of the subjects build upon each other and relate to each other, and we make sure that there's no repetition in terms of the style of the assessment tasks that you're doing. You get a nice wide variety of the things that you need throughout the course. So you start out with critical issues in English language learning and teaching. You have pedagogy in TESOL. You then have bi and multilingual education. That's one of the units that I currently run and teach. Then you have understanding language and learning. You then have linguistically informed teaching, and then integrating language and content in content-based programs. And that one builds on the bilingual education. So, you know, we will refer to each other's subjects as we're teaching them to sort of say, you'll learn some more about this when you reach the next subject. And then we have second language assessment and testing and curriculum design and innovation in TESOL contexts. So all of those sort of core units should give you all of the skills that you need to then go back to whichever context it is that you're envisaging teaching within, and to not only be able to teach, but to also design your own courses and series of units of study, depending what the structure is in the context that you teach within. So you will have, you know, the understandings to be able to design the assessment and the testing and do all of the planning, and to construct really strong series of learning for your students. And we pull all of it together in that final section next to year 3 there, where you undertake 2 subjects called professional practice for TESOL A and B, and those are accompanied by your choice of either a teaching placement or an observation placement. And we're particularly proud of this part of the structure because a lot of courses don't necessarily have the opportunity for you to try out all of the skills you've learned the theory about, and put it into practice while still within the course. These 2 subjects kind of support you up to and including a short placement, which we organise for you, our professional placement team set up for you. And you know, depending on your level of confidence, you can choose either to do what we call an active observation, where you're given particular things to look for in observing another teacher, or you can undertake some teaching yourself, which might be individual or it might be in pairs, depending on the placement that you end up with. But all of that is supported by the professional practice units, where you're introduced to what's expected of you. You then undertake the placement, and then your assessment tasks for those units are sort of getting you to think about what you did, and to write that up for those assessment tasks. So it's all very well linked together, and it allows you to kind of draw on everything you've done in the course so far in this sort of culminating unit. So I think that's generally the structure. I'm sure there'll be some questions for me later on, but that's probably the key points from me at the moment, Jennifer.
Thanks, Ruth. Thank you.
you.
That's very comprehensive. Yeah, so this course really has a lot of components, as we can see. It's got the theory, it's also got the practice, and you also have the option of an elective, which really gives you the option to maybe pick up something in, say, you know, educational leadership, for example. So really a lot of flexibility and choice in this course. So thank you, Ruth. Now, how do you get into the course? So as you can see, we've got a few entry levels listed, and depending on your prior studies and your former work experience, you might be able to shorten your study duration. But as a minimum, you will need a bachelor's degree with a 60% average. That's the minimum academic requirement. Now, as Ruth has mentioned, the course normally is 2 years in duration if you're a full-time student. However, if you have a qualification in a related field, such as linguistics or language studies, or if you have got 2 years relevant professional experience, then your study duration may be reduced to 1.5 or even just 1 year. If you have completed an honors degree or graduate certificate, graduate diploma, or a master's degree, your study duration may also be shortened. So really, it will depend on what you have done previously, what you have studied, and your work experience. Don't worry if you're not sure which entry level you will be eligible for. This will be assessed only when you've applied for the course. If your application is successful, the offer letter that you will get will actually specify which entry level you will be going into and how long your course duration will be. So this will all be assessed and laid out for you if you have got an offer letter. All applicants also need to meet the English language requirements. If you haven't studied in an English medium, in an English medium higher education institution, you may have to sit an English language test in order to demonstrate your language proficiency. If you're using IELTS, you will need an overall score of 6.5 with no band lower than 6.0. If you have any difficulties meeting these requirements, you could complete a Monash English language course delivered through our Monash College. The duration of the English course will be determined when you submit your English language test results. Applications for the July intake are currently open and will close on the 23rd of June, 2023. If you're an international applicant who wants to start in 2024 or even 2025, you can actually apply now. The admissions team will assess your qualifications and will let you know if you need to sit an English language test or not. I would encourage you to apply early if you think you will need to complete an English language bridging course before you start the master's. And now we welcome our alum, our former student, Andy, who graduated from our Master of TESOL course in 2018. Hi, Andy. I believe you have also taught like English in a few universities, so welcome. And you have prepared a bit of a presentation about your experience.
Yes,
indeed. Great.
So I'm teaching now at as like senior lecturer at Vinh University, the university that is backed by Vingroup, the largest conglomerate in Vietnam. And also I'm part of the teaching crew of general education for Swinburne University, Vietnam as well. So Swinburne has recently opened like a new branch in Vietnam, and I'm part of that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Would you like to tell us a bit more about your study experience? What was it like to study the Master of TESOL?
Oh, sure. Okay. So I have shared to the viewers. Hello, everyone. So I have prepared kind of a Padlet here, so that will we will have all the things that I will talk about and more in this small presentation, small introduction. And maybe Jennifer, maybe you can stop sharing your part so I can have the permission to share my screen, if it's possible. All right, it looks like. Okay, I think there's a screen right now. Okay, so can you see my screen with the Padlet screen?
Andy, I can't seem to see the Padlet yet.
Maybe there's a delay.
I can see it now. Yeah.
All right, so maybe there's delay, so I'll try to speak slowly, right? So it can match with the screen. All right, so these are the links of the specific things that you might need to know or want to know about the student experience here at Monash. So section 1, you can see that what I enjoyed most. So of course the highlights first, right? So you can see the first link will be the Google Slides to my small presentation, only about 3 to 5 slides, very quick, and a little bit about my background. So Monash has been gracious enough to send a film crew to Vietnam to record one of my one of my typical days in Vietnam. But of course today I'm talking about the student life in Monash during my stay at Monash. So if you're curious, you can see how and what I've become after graduation. But I will talk more about my student life at Monash. So the second link on on the right is a little bit about my profile. I think there will be a lot of Vietnamese viewers for today because TESOL is really popular in Vietnam. So I prepared a bilingual introduction, so you can see the speaker profile in here. And the third link will be the video to that, to that live in as an alum in Vietnam. All right. And section 2, a typical day for AI at Monash. So if you are curious, so I was part of the viewing or part of the seminar for Bitcoin mining back in 2016. So we were on top of the game very early. So if you're curious, you can see the experience. All right. Also, the second link of section 2, you can see my skiing experience. So some of my my skiing experience. And of course, section 4 will be the fly cam hobby. So I'm taking some, fly cam or drone pictures of Monash, Clayton, and Caulfield campuses. So if you want to see the future, campuses that you will be studying in, you can have a look at the drone pictures. All right. So let me start with the quick presentation. All right, quick presentation. Only 3 slides. So of course, behind the scenes, I have prepared many more. So should you have any questions, you can ask me more in the Q&A session. All right. So first, we will have some bullet points that we'll talk about. This is like the menu for you. You can ask me more regarding those, but of course I will be sharing only a few of those, right? Because we don't have enough time, and I'm not sure if you are interested enough, right? So I'm just trying to, tease you a little bit with some of the pictures. So this is my first impression about Monash when I came, okay? Boom, on television. Well, immediately I saw my professor, Professor Neil Selwyn. So we are actually, studying from the top, the top researchers in the field. And Professor Neil Selwyn is not from Australia, but he's from the UK. But somehow he's my professor. So I've got quite an eclectic collection of professors from Australia, from the UK, from the US, right? So when I turned on the TV, I saw my professor. So wow, yeah, we are really famous. So here I'm at Monash. I feel like you can see here, right? You can see here Professor Neil Selwyn from Monash University, and he also was the one who recommended me to now to my new job and now at my new position. So he helped me to have the job that I'm having now. So we still keep in touch. Like it's not like he only did his part in the course, right? So it's like a lifelong relation and lifelong connection. So yeah, that is my first impression. Wow, we are learning from celebrity and professors and professors who know what they're talking about, and professors who are on top of the game in the new industry. So I'm very interested in education and technology, and Professor Neil Selwyn along with other professors and of course my supervisor as well are the people who we can trust and who will help us to be top of the world, right? So when I was studying there, Monash was consistently ranked top 20. At some point during my stay there, we achieved top 11. Now we are at 13. So I think we will improve much more when you come, right? When you guys in the new cohort come, right? So a little bit about me, okay? I'm a 2-time TEDx speaker. I'm also about TESOL. TESOL is very popular in Southeast Asia and in Asia in general, because it is like teaching English to mostly like secondary second language speakers. So TESOL is very popular, and of all the popular tests in TESOL, it is the IELTS test. So of course, Jennifer has talked to you about, and I had the honor of receiving the global first prize in IELTS teaching from the United Kingdom by the IELTS.org, Cambridge University, and the British Council. So I got a chance to go to Cambridge University to receive the awards and to meet the creators and the professors, researchers behind the scene of making the test. So it was a huge honor, and there is only one person on earth to receive this award every year, and I was the winner of 2018. So it was a huge pleasure for me. Okay, so I was also the first prize winner of a number of startup competitions. So I'm very big into ed tech. So that is what I'm doing right now. I'm also the MC and script writer of a TV show, and I'm a co-founder of the most popular TV show about IELTS and about education on television with 600,000 viewers. Right. I was also the Vietnam's goodwill ambassador for SAYAP. We basically went on a ship as big as the Titanic, and we were the goodwill ambassador touring Japan and the 10 ASEAN countries for 2 months. So studying at Monash, I was the awardee. So I was the Australia awardee. That means the scholarship holder of the Australian government. And of course, after Monash, I got the high distinction. So I think that is the highest achievement for the Master of TESOL. And regarding IELTS, I was also the high scorer with a 9 in speaking, 9 in listening, 9 in reading, and 8.5 in writing. Okay, so yeah, that is a lot of things to say about me, and that may get you confused, but really my career is only about 3 things: media, education, and technology. So my career is at the T-junction of these 3 technologies. And my father told me that, oh, son, you cannot be the best teacher in the world, but please compete in chess with the swimmers and compete in swimming with the chess players. So find your competitive advantage. So back when I was the lecturer for the leading tech university in Vietnam, Bách Khoa University, I also part-time as the MC or the anchor and the news anchor at Vietnam National Television. And when they needed to open a new channel, a new show, they say, oh, we have a lot of MCs and a lot of producers at our TV station, but we don't have any educators, only this guy, Andy. Okay, so that gave me the competitive advantage. I'm not the best news anchor of Vietnam. I'm not the best teacher of the world of Vietnam, but when it comes to creating a new show, all of them were news anchors and producers. Only I had the experience in teaching. So when they opened the new show, I am the de facto, co-founder of the TV show. So that is like a huge advantage for me. So right now, I'm working as senior lecturer come program director for Vinh University. So Vinh University is like the head of the biggest conglomerate in Vietnam, the real estate conglomerate in Vietnam, by the richest man in Vietnam. So right now I have a huge opportunity to practice what I preach, because this is basically teaching English. And this year we are trying to teach in a charity project to 50,000 people in a remote province. And what I learned from Monash really helped me to get to what I am today. Yeah. Am I out of time? All right, we're still good.
We're still good, but Andy, there's a very keen audience member here who actually asked, can Andy tell us a little more about the course itself? Because they really wanted to know, what did you find most difficult about the course? I think that's actually an excellent question, and a lot of students might be a bit afraid to ask this.
So what I really like about the course is that it is a little bit ahead of its time. Okay, so back in 2016, we didn't have anything called COVID yet, but somehow Monash was already, prepared and ready to implement most of the course contents online. So what I enjoy most about the course is that we can do this online most of the time, and we get to see the lectures and our professors about once every week. So it means it is very flexible, and we can study online, and we can study we can do self-study. And that's the reason why I half of the time there I stayed at Clayton campus, but half of the time I stayed at a city center. So I wanted to meet more people. I want to be more active, so that I stayed at a city center and I can just go to the university once every week. And of course, I can make use of the campus, of the Monash campus, for international business in the city center. So we are still a Monash student. So that means I can use the library at the city center. So I don't have to be at Monash Clayton all the time. So if that explains, yeah.
Perfect.
So Monash has a lot of campuses, even in Melbourne. So in the city center, in Clayton, which is a little bit farther away, and also in Clayton. Clayton is where our Faculty of Education lies.
Yes.
But you don't have to be at Clayton all the time. So that is very flexible and very good for our our career, because I attended like 10 workshops, seminars, hackathons every week. So it is only possible if I live somewhere convenient,
Yeah, great. And Andy, you mentioned you are able to use all the facilities at all of our campuses. Yes, yeah, we have more than one campus in Australia. We actually also have overseas campuses in Malaysia, Indonesia, China, and Italy. So yeah, lots of flexibility. But if you study this course on an international student visa, you will have to be based in the Australian campus in Clayton. But of course, you can choose to live in the city if you like. Andy, and you also mentioned the flexibility in terms of choosing the unit timetable. So for each unit, you can choose to do, you can choose the timetable according to your own schedule, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And about what I find the most difficult. So of course we are being taught by the top professors in the field. So if we say something that is not correct or does not show that we understand the topic matter, then we will get exposed very quickly. So that's why one of my biggest regrets is that I got approved to do the research pathway. That means I can graduate, but with not by doing a test, but by doing the master's thesis. But that also meant I had to give up my last summer to prepare for the research pathway. Yeah. So I lost we can do like 1 year or like 2 years. But I chose 2 years because I teach English, and it is very important to get exposed to the culture and to the speakers. So I chose the 2 years, so it is not as intensive, and it allows me to join other parts of the culture as well. But yeah, I had to sacrifice the last summer in order to make sure that I get like full HD, like what do you call like full HD, like everything like a high distinction at the end. Yeah, so that is what I found like really hard for me. Yeah.
Yeah, to get top grades in every subject, every unit is indeed a challenge. You have to be very good at time management, make sure you submit all assignments on time. And Andy, you also touched on a very important part about this course, which is there is a research pathway available for students who want to continue on to do a PhD later. After they complete the Master of TESOL, you will be doing a thesis in your final semester, but not everyone gets to do the thesis or the research pathway. So you need to have at least 75% average in the course in order to be invited to do the research pathway. So not everyone will have that opportunity. You do need to achieve good academic standards. Andy, I'm sorry, I have to move on to the next section, but yeah, I will make sure we share your Padlet slides with everyone who is here with us tonight, and yeah, they will learn more about your experience. So if I could just share my screen again, Andy, thank you for your wonderful presentation and giving us the opportunity to learn about what it's like to really study with us. And yeah, if you study with Monash, you will be studying with celebrities, with the best academics in their field. Yeah, so we do have a lot of questions from the audience, very engaged audience with us tonight. So happy to answer some of these questions live. Patrick, if you don't mind, I can see that you've already answered a few. So I'll just go through these questions and ask the relevant ones to Andy and Ruth, if that's okay. So is it possible to do the course part-time? The answer is yes and no. If you are a domestic student, which means if you are an Australian citizen or permanent resident, or if you are a New Zealand citizen, then yes, you can do the course part-time. However, if you are an international student on an international student visa, then you have to do the course full-time. So it depends on your student status, your residency status, and if you're an international student, what visa you will be studying on. Another question from anonymous attendee: would overseas bachelor's qualification be considered for credit exemption The answer is yes, we do look at, we do accept overseas qualifications. The admissions team will look at the units you have completed when you submit your transcript and then determine what, how many credit points you will be given. Definitely, we accept overseas qualifications. And for those of you who actually want to do the 2 years, even though you qualify for, say, the 1.5 or 1 year duration, you can request to do the 2 full years, just like Andy did. If you want to have more study experience here and enjoy our campus, enjoy the Melbourne life a bit longer, you definitely can. So even if you are qualified to be given credit, you don't have to take the credit. You can take the 2 full year duration of the course. Is Commonwealth supported places available for the course? The answer is no. The course for the Master of TESOL course doesn't have Commonwealth supported place available. And the screen here, you can see the fees for 2023. For international students, that's the fee there. For domestic, it's $26,500 a year. If you're studying with us full-time, and part-time, obviously we'll have to reduce that based on the number of units you complete in a single semester. So students pay their fees every semester. And then we've got someone from Bhutan. Tashi, hi, welcome. I have a bachelor's degree in Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science, and I'm currently working as a teacher in one of the primary schools as a contract teacher. Am I eligible? Tashi, if you have got a bachelor's degree with at least 60% average, that is 60% equivalent to the Monash grading system, then yes, you will be eligible. Provided that you have also met the English language requirements. So we only look at academic requirements plus English language requirements. For those who already have relevant working experience, you may choose to apply for credit, but it's not compulsory. Now I've got a question for Andy and Ruth. What does the timetable for the course look like? How many days? Andy, would you like to share how many days you had to attend campus?
So at the beginning, you would be very intensive course called the IAP course, like the introductory academic program. So you would be preparing for how to write a thesis all the days in the week for you. Okay, so it's you to to rent somewhere near. But after that, you will study about like once or two times per week. So it is the time when you can actually start to explore more the city. And of course, the lecture time, like the actual lecture time is not that extensive, but the assignments and the research work that is required after that and to prepare for the next lecture will take up most of your time. So you are actually doing self-study quite often. And it is expected at the end that the high performers will be doing research, so you will have to prepare for that. So it depends on the workload will depend on your commitment and whether or not you want high distinction or passable, right? So it depends.
Yeah, but
so
there is
for my workload, I was still able to join like about 10 other social events like competitions, and went skiing, kayaking, doing salsa, and all sorts of things. So I still I was the captain of 2 swimming teams at Monash. We swam in a marathon style for 24 hours to raise about $5,000, and we swam about so yeah, we still have time to do those kind of things. And I still see like a lot of people who are married who can still study and maybe bring their families here. So I don't think that is like a big factor in your life. But of course, if you want to be, some key player in your industry back home or here, then you will have to put in more hours.
That's great, Andy. Ruth, also a
Yeah.
question from Debbie. Is the course flexible enough for those that teach full-time? I think you may be able to answer
Yeah.
this.
The answer is yes, generally. Obviously, it depends, I guess, how many students we have in any given year as to how many multiple tutorials there might be for a particular subject. But we do our best to ensure that there is at least one offered, sort of late afternoon to sort of early evening, so anyone who is working full-time can attend. But also, a number of our international students prefer daytime classes. So as providing the numbers allow for multiple classes, we try to have, say a morning class and, a late afternoon to evening class so that you can attend the one that suits you the best. As Andy sort of said, there's also a number of things that are kind of self-accessed within the course. So there would only be sort of 1 to 2 hours per subject that you have to be on campus for to attend. And I guess attendance isn't, compulsory in terms of being checked off, but it's strongly encouraged so that you understand the materials and get to actually discuss them with your classmates. But there is also access to the materials through our Moodle page, and activities that you would complete yourself in your own time, and the readings you complete in your own time to kind of add up together with the class time to make the whole subject. So if you're a full-time student, you'd be doing 4 subjects in a semester, or the 2 introductory ones, they're sort of larger. And so the time allocation kind of goes along with the size of those subjects. So in those first 2 semesters, you would be attending the classes just for that, and then doing the additional reading and accessing the materials at a time that suits you. So yes, for those people working full-time, it's possible to make sure that the timetable suits you. And if there were the occasional session that you couldn't attend, then generally anything that is like that would also be accessible through Moodle for you to catch up on in your own time.
That's great, Ruth. So yeah, as Andy and Ruth have both mentioned, definitely a lot of flexibility. And for those who are working full-time, some students were able to work full-time as well as study full-time, but I think that is a bit crazy.
Because international students wouldn't be able to manage that. And generally, if you're a domestic student, you would possibly opt for part-time in order to be able to juggle it properly. I guess the workload would be the challenge in terms of you managing your own time working full-time. Yeah.
Thanks, Ruth. I have a question about scholarship. How to apply for scholarships? If my IELTS score doesn't meet the requirement, can I still apply for scholarship? The quick answer is you have to have a full offer for the course before applying for scholarships. So I would say if your IELTS score doesn't meet the requirement of the course yet, you won't be able to apply for the scholarship because you won't have a full offer. So that's the quick answer. I'm just going to go through them quite quickly because we do have quite a lot of questions left and there's not a lot of time. Currently studying with only 5 semesters of grades, want to apply for a Master in Artificial Intelligence at Monash University Malaysia campus is now a good time. So I would say apply for the course when you are in your final year. Don't apply too far in advance because the admissions team won't be able to assess your eligibility as accurately. Usually we would encourage students to apply in their final year or their final semester so that we get a good picture of your academic ability. Aldila, is it possible to join a research conducted by a professor at the master's degree student? Ruth, is that possible?
Yes, technically, I guess it would be up to you to kind of approach academic staff to ask if they've got research assistant work. It tends to go, I guess, to start with, to people's PhD students. just generally because of the time management, you might find yourself too busy in the master's course to be able to do much extra, but there's nothing to stop you if you are, doing well with managing your time and showing that your grades are good. An academic staff member would definitely consider your interest in, in being a research assistant or something like that. But in terms of then teaching, you have to already be enrolled in a PhD to be like a teaching assistant. So it depends what sort of work you're looking at. But yes, it's possible. I'd say probably academics would be cautious until you were towards the end of the course to be able to have shown that you can manage the workload first.
That's great. Thanks, Ruth. Question from someone from Indonesia. I graduated from English Language Education Study Program bachelor's degree. Would like to know how long it would take for me to complete the TESOL course. Yes, there are 3 entry levels. Usually, if you've got a bachelor's degree in English language education, which is a related field, we would usually consider you for the 1.5-year duration, but this will only be confirmed when you have applied for the course and the admissions team has reviewed your transcript. And if you've got work experience, if you've got minimum 2 years full-time work experience relevant to teaching English, then we will also consider giving you extra credit. So you might be able to complete the course in 1 year. Really, it depends on your work experience and study background. From DEFA, could you tell us more about research of foreign English language teaching through this course? What would be the challenges? So to do a research project in the course, first off, DEFA, to do a research thesis in the course, you need to have good grades in your first, at least in your first semester. If you're doing the 1-year course, if you're doing the 2 years, then you need to have very good academic results from your first semester through to the 3rd semester in order to be invited to do the research pathway in your final semester. So I think in terms of the challenges, it will be maintaining that academic excellence. And then, it's just a matter of what you want to achieve, what research topic you like to do. So Ruth, is there anything else?
Yeah, and I would say, if that's sort of quite a long way off in terms of thinking about undertaking some research, there's an element of choice within the assessment tasks within each of the core subjects where you have a degree of say in terms of tweaking what topic it is that you want to base your assignment around, so that then the additional reading that you seek out yourself can be on a topic that interests you. So there's sort of small little pieces that you could see as research, I guess, within the assessment tasks of the existing units as well. So, it might be good to kind of see that as an opportunity to show what you can do, and then ultimately, hopefully, gain entrance into the research pathway by showing that high caliber of sort of research skill within the smaller assessment tasks in the earlier units in the course.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ruth. This is also a very relevant question to you, Ruth. I would like to teach people how to teach English. So how did you, Ruth, pathway to academia? Do I have to do a PhD with 2 question marks?
It depends where you want to be in academia. In Australia, yes, you would need a PhD to get, I guess, a permanent role doing that. So my own pathway, I actually didn't start out teaching English. I started out teaching French and German to English speakers. And I then did a PhD looking at multilingualism, people's identities, how they connect with their languages. And whilst I was doing my PhD, I started to teach teachers at Sydney Uni. And now 15 to 20 years later, I find myself at Monash. So yes, look, a PhD for a permanent job in academia is pretty much a must these days, but it's possible to start doing bits and pieces of teaching either without a PhD or partway through the PhD to gain experience. But, you know, if you're looking at another context in another country, you may be able to get an academic role and then, you know, be supported within that job to do your PhD. But unfortunately, in the Australian context, those days are gone in terms of getting the job first and then getting the PhD.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. From Anonymous, I'm a VIT general primary school teacher. Can this course give me the qualification required for becoming an EAL teacher working in primary or secondary schools in Australia? Sorry,
you go, Jennifer.
So the short answer is definitely, because if you're already a registered school teacher with the VIT, that qualifies you to teach in schools here in Victoria. And you can also obviously apply for teacher registration in other states and territories, as well as New Zealand, because there's a mutual agreement, recognition agreement. And this course definitely will give you the qualification to teach EAL, because it is in the field of linguistics and language teaching. And it's more than what the VIT requires, actually. Yeah, they normally would just require a minor in linguistics, or if you've got a second language. So minor is only 4 units at the bachelor's level, with usually no more than 2 units at the first year level. So if you've got a master's degree in teaching English to languages, to speakers of other languages, then yeah, you would definitely be able to say I can teach EAL in schools in Australia. Yeah. Anything you would like to add, Ruth?
No, absolutely. You know, if anything would make you overqualified.
Yes.
But you know, we are currently talking to the Department of Education, you know, about teachers who are you know, already in schools and maybe have taken on EAL but haven't got that qualification. And they very much, you know, are keen on teachers doing this course, you know, or possibly a smaller version of it in the future if that were to exist then. But at the moment, yeah, this is the only option. And yeah, I guess, you know, we very much, you know, all of us teaching in the course have also been teachers in the Australian system as well. So with the placement that we've designed, even though we didn't have to, we've used the TESOL standards to kind of guide the way we've designed the sort of assessment of that placement as well. So even though it didn't have to meet TESOL requirements, you can kind of match it up yourself afterwards if you want to, you know, present that to VIT for accreditation. But certainly, yes, schools, if you already got the teacher qualification, they will be more than happy with the Master of TESOL as an extra qualification. Yeah.
Brilliant. A question from Ricky, wondering about the electives. I'd just like to share the electives list. Very good question. So yes, there's really lots and lots of units students can choose for the Master of TESOL course. So we have electives in disciplines like educational leadership, digital education. You can see the screen, right? You can see the units. Yeah, thanks. You can do applied behavior analysis, lots and lots of opportunities. I just like to show you that, you see, we as the Faculty of Education, we offer a range of education courses at the master's level. So as a Master of TESOL students, the only restriction you have is you cannot do an elective in the field of TESOL because you're
already doing them.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But everything else, whether it's leadership, whether it's digital education, whether it's just general issues in education such as globalization, social learning, employability, you know, or even early childhood education, you know, there's lots and lots of sub areas or sub-disciplines in the education field that you can do. So yeah, lots and lots of opportunities, lots of flexibility. Anything you'd like to add about electives, Ruth?
Not really, only that I guess if you did end up doing the research pathway, you probably don't then have the space for the electives, is that right? That's the bit that gets switched out?
Yes.
Or yeah, so just to be aware, if that's what you're thinking, then you wouldn't have the space for that as well. There's limited space in the structure. But other than that, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Ruth. We've got a very can we have the PowerPoint and PDF file about the course after from Philip? Yes, we can definitely share the slides with everyone who's registered. So thank you for that question. Are there any Bhutanese students in this program? We've definitely had Bhutanese students in the course before. Whether we have any in this cohort, I'm not sure. Ruth, do you know any?
Sorry, I was just reading a question. Can you say that again?
Are there any Bhutanese students in this program, in this cohort?
In the current cohort, not that I've only met, I guess, the current semester's ones who were doing my particular unit. So not that I know of. I have met a number of Bhutanese students in my previous job. But yeah, I don't know that there are in the current cohort, though they may be in a subject that hasn't reached my subject yet.
Yeah, we definitely have had Bhutanese students enrolled in the Master of TESOL. Yeah, and Andy, you can tell us what nationalities of fellow classmates that you had when you were studying. A lot of them, right?
All over the world. So I actually had a picture with Professor Neil about and that was an award-winning like photo because it shows how diverse our class is. So it was very nice. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I've met any Bhutanese like in my classroom, because the classroom's only 20 people, but I think like after several years, we must have some, right? Jennifer can confirm that.
Yeah, we do have Bhutanese students in our Master of Teaching course. Sorry, TESOL course and other master.
Yeah, there's no limit or restriction on that. So you are free to apply, right?
Yes. That's right.
Very welcome. Yeah.
Just one last question before we wrap up. Thank you all for your great questions. We definitely appreciate this. Is it possible to find a job in Australia afterwards? Ruth, would you like to?
Yes. So I guess in terms of teaching in the Australian context, it's aimed at teaching adults. So there's a number of settings, ELICOS centres, English centres within universities, for example, that prepare speakers for their university study, the sort of adult migrant English language types of courses as well. But if you are wanting to teach school-age children, then you do need the other qualification, which is to teach in an Australian school. So I guess that would be the way up for you to decide upon a Master of Teaching, in which then I guess teaching English as an additional language could be one of your specializations, but you would also need another teaching area as well to qualify in.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ruth. So definitely there are job opportunities in Australia that require you to have a TESOL qualification. For example, if you want to teach the English language course at Monash College, then you will need the Master of TESOL, or even some teachers would also have a PhD in the field of language education. So yes, definitely there are job opportunities. However, if you do want to become a qualified school teacher or early childhood teacher here in Australia, you will need to study the Master of Teaching if you have already got an undergraduate degree, and that is a 2-year course. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Andy. Thanks everyone who joined us online. Thank you for your time. I hope you found the information really useful. If you still have any questions, I think I just see one question. I couldn't find personal statement in the application. Do I need to submit one? You do not need to submit personal statement in the for the application. So you only need your transcripts, and if you are required, then the English language test results. That's it. You don't need to provide a personal statement. All right, that's just really quickly. So if you have any questions still, please book a call with us and we'll call you at your preferred time. You can just scan this QR code on the screen and pick your preferred time and date. We will call you. So you don't have to pay for the call yourself. And everyone who registered for this webinar will also receive an email with further details, including slides, as well as a recording of today's session. And just finally about the application, we will close applications for the July intake on the 23rd of June. So we encourage you to apply early in case there's still some documentation you need to provide, then you have time to organize those things. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. We hope to see you at Monash. Thank you.